Hello, everyone. Good evening, guys. I'm sharing my screen. We'll just wait for one more minute for others to dial in, guys. In today's session, I'm going to talk about options available in the Integrations Designer screen, guys. We'll just wait for one more minute. Okay, let's get started, guys. I'm sharing my screen. I've logged into OIC. I've logged into OIC Gen3 instance. And in today's session, I'm going to give you a walkthrough of options available in the Integration Designer screen. So where do you build the integrations from, guys? After you log into OIC instance, you click on the menu option. And from the menu option, you click on Design. And after you click on Design, you go to Integrations. And this particular page that you're seeing on screen is called as an Integrations Designer screen. And the moment you come into this Integration Designer screen, guys, there are a few navigation basics that you need to be aware of. And when you click on Integrations, you would notice that the username with which you have logged in is applied as a filter there. And you get to see the integrations that you have updated. So since I logged in as Prasad, my username is applied as a filter here. And OIC is saying that, Prasad, there are 155 integrations that you have updated. And I'll be able to see the integrations here. And what OIC will do is, it will not be able to, it will not go to the database and it will not fetch all these 155 integrations and load all of them onto the page. OIC will not load all these 155 integrations onto the page. Instead, what it does is it would sort these 155 integrations that I have updated by a last updated date. It would sort the integrations by last updated date descending order. And whatever integrations that I have updated recently will be showing up at the top. If you remember, this is a use case that we were editing yesterday, right? Salesforce to ERP service. That's why it is showing up at the top, and it is showing the timestamp as Feb 23rd, 6:52 p.m. So by default, your username will be applied as a filter. You get to see the integrations, and out of these 155 integrations, first of all, these 155 integrations are sorted by last updated date descending order. And within the table here, you will be seeing 16 integrations getting loaded. Out of 155, 16 integrations get loaded onto the table first, 16 integrations. And as you scroll down, you would be able to see the next set of 16 integrations showing up. So you see here, you see 16 integrations showing up on the page. And as I scroll down, you see a next set of 16 integrations loaded onto the page. So what it basically means is, as you keep scrolling down, integrations will be loaded in multiples of 16 into this particular table. And when you scroll down further, the next set of 16 integrations get loaded. So the intent is, whenever a developer comes in, his username will be applied as a filter, and he should be able to see the integrations that he's updating or that he's working on recently showing up right at the top. And he would be able to resume the integration build next day morning when he signs in. But the point is, sometimes you might probably want to work on an integration that you have built 2 weeks back or 3 weeks back. What do you do in such cases? In such cases, I don't need to just keep scrolling down and search for the integration among this long list. I do have a quick search option. And in the search option, I can mention what exactly I want to search for. I can search for integrations by entering a full or partial integration name. I can even enter a keyword and so on. So if I say UG58, what do I get to see, guys? I'll get to see all the integrations created for that particular batch here. Okay. I get to see all the integrations which are created for that batch showing up here. And apart from searching for the integrations by the name, you do have an option to apply other filters. Like you can apply a filter and say that don't show me all the integrations, show me only the integrations which are in active status. How do you do that? I go to status and I can apply active as a filter, and that's going to show me only the active integrations. And say, for example, if I want to see only the integrations of style application, not scheduled ones, I'm going to talk about the styles in detail in 10-15 minutes from now, guys. But if I want to apply a filter on the style as well, I just click on the menu option and I can apply a filter based on style also, like this. So this way, you can search for the integrations by its name. You can enter a partial or a full name, and you can apply a variety of other filters as you see on the screen. And as you keep taking out filters, you would see the list getting updated accordingly. And we have, the integrations would be displayed in a tabular format. By default, you can change it to card view if you want. Okay, so depending on what view that your client likes, you can change it. Now, these are the navigation basics that you need to be aware of. And whatever basics that I just explained, and what do you get to see in the table here, guys? For a specific use case, you get to see a picture, basically, and this picture shows you the integration flow. And even without opening the integration, if you just put your mouse on top of it, it tells you what are the connections that you have used in the integration build. And I'm sure you know what connections are by now, right? In yesterday's session, we have seen that if you have to integrate Salesforce with ERP, first we need to establish connectivity from OIC with Salesforce and then ERP Cloud. And I've shown you how to create a connections from the connections tab and use it in the integration flow. So even without getting into integration from here itself, you can find out what are the connections that are used within the integration. You see the integration name, version, what style has been used to create that integration, last updated date, and the status as well. And there are a variety of statuses possible for integration, guys. Like it can be in draft, configured, active status. And how exactly does this, what is the significance of each of these statuses? I would be explaining that in detail when we do the first use case, guys. Now, whatever navigation basics I explain for integrations, the same thing applies for connections also, or any other navigation option. If you go to connections, again, the same story, your user is applied as a filter. You get to see the connections that you updated. And not all the connections are loaded onto the page. Only the first 16 connections would be loaded, which you have updated recently. You see the ERP connection is what I created yesterday, and that is showing up at the top. So these 159 connections are sorted by last updated descending order, and you see the 16 connections loaded here. The same navigation basics apply for all the other screens as well. Well, the most important part here is this username that you are seeing, which is applied as a filter, it is a removable filter. Since I logged in as Prasad, my username is applied as a filter, and I see 155 integrations here. And when I take off my username as a filter, let's see what happens, guys. It is a removable filter, and the moment I take it off, in the integration design screen, we'd have that flexibility to take off our username as a filter. And the moment we take it off, we see that the number of integrations has exploded. Yes, there are around 160 integrations that I updated, but there are plenty of other integrations that other developers have created in this OIC instance. Okay, now what does it mean, guys? Another way to look at this is there's no access control. So Prasad has logged in, but when he has taken off his username as a filter, he is able to see all the integrations that exist in the design screen. Doesn't matter who creates it. So which means there's no access control. So when do we normally build integrations in design screen, guys? You will build integrations in design screen only when there is no requirement for you to do access control. So if you're doing an implementation project for a client, and if your client has only one integration team, which is going to build integrations in the design screen, let's assume that your client is implementing only finance or HCM or SCM. There's only one team and there are 4 to 10 members in it. Since all the team members are going to, since all of them belong to a same team, Doesn't matter, even if integrations created by one member would be visible to others. Access control is not required here. So in such cases, we go to integration design screen and we build the integrations from here directly. So that what would happen when any of these 10 members takes off their username as a filter, they would be able to see integrations created by all other members. There's no access control. But what if your client has multiple integration teams, guys? Let's say your client has a finance team, HCM and SCM teams. Maybe your client is implementing 3 offerings, and there are different integration teams taking care of different offering related components. One team is building fin related integrations. Let's say Prasad is leading it. And there's a HCM team which Divya is leading. There are 3 members in that team and 5 members are building integrations related to SCM. When you have multiple integration teams like this, and these teams can be partitioned by offering, there might be one team per offering, or there could be one team per rollout. Let's say we're doing implementation for Emerson or HSBC or British Telecom or any other client for that matter. And let's assume that they're doing multiple projects in parallel and assume that there are different teams taking care of those implementations. Obviously, they would be working in the same OIC instance. So in such cases, definitely client would say, sorry, Prasad, we need access control. Whatever integrations you and your team from finance are building should not be visible to Divya and Kiran from HCM team. But do we get this access control? Do we get the access control if we build the integrations in our design screen, guys? What did we see just now? We saw that when Prasad logged in, his username was applied as a filter. But the moment we take off that filter, he was able to see everything else. So which means there's no access control. And for a scenario like this, where you need access control and when there are multiple teams working in a project, you cannot certainly build integrations in the design screen. And that's exactly where you would go into a projects. And that's exactly where a concept of projects comes into picture. This is a new concept that came into picture in OIC Gen3, guys. We didn't have this feature in Gen2. In fact, we were missing it badly. But from Gen3 onwards, we do have an option to create projects in OIC. And projects would give you an option to do a tight access control, guys. So let's say I create a new project here, and I'm going to call it as, let's say, UG. Okay, let me create this project as a new project, a blank project, new project, new blank project, and I'm going to call it as UG112, and I'm going to call it as, say, a finance implementation project. Okay, so assume that I'm creating a project for my team. Okay, I create a project, and after I create a project, whatever design components that we have. So if you go to OIC instance, guys, and if you go to the integrations designer screen, if you go to the integrations design screen, when you build integrations in OIC, guys, within the integrations you build in OIC, these are all the components that you can use within them. Yesterday, we have seen the usages of connections within the integration, right? But as we progress in the course and when we build 15 complex integrations, we'll see the usage of all other components in the integrations. We'll see how we can use events, lookups, JavaScript libraries, packages, connectivity agents in the integrations going forward. And these options, whatever integration design options that we see here, these same design options would be available within the projects as well. So we see that there's an option to create an integration, and you see connection, lookup, library, and events. The same navigation and the same integration designer components available here, they're available in a project as well. So what does it mean? It means that I create a project for my team, and I'm an owner of it. I'm owner of it. And what is it that I would do, guys? I would give access of my project only to the finance team members. So for example, if say Dawal is from my team or Latish is from my team, so what is it that I would do? I would be adding them as a members in my team, so that only the finance team members will be able to access this project. And what is it that they would be able to do? They would be able to add these components and build the integrations accordingly. So I created this project as Prasad, right? And see, most of you have already made a fee payment and you did receive the onboarding email as well from us. What is the username that we shared with you guys to log into OIC instance? It is not Prasad, right? What's the username that we shared with you? It is Oracle Cloud user. If you open up the onboarding email, you will be able to find it there. So if you try to log into OIC instance as that new user, okay, let me try to log into OIC instance as that new user. Let me get the password, guys, for that new user. Give me a moment. And the moment you log into it as that user, remember you would be logging in with this particular credentials when you practice the components. Do you think this particular user, it's not Prasad, will this user be able to access this particular project, guys? You think so? Let's see. I click on the menu option and I go to projects. First of all, is this particular user, Oracle Cloud 23 user, is he able to see the project name here, guys? Is he even able to see this project that I have created here? It's not even showing up, right? Sorry, it is showing up here. But if he tries to get into this particular project, what's the behavior that you notice? He's able to see this project because there's no filter applied. But usually, the username with which you log in should have been applied as a filter. Looks like they didn't. They have taken out the default filter here in the projects. And in the projects, since there's no filter, I can still see the project that Prasad has created. But if Oracle Cloud user tries to get in, he gets to see an error message which says, sorry, boss, you don't have a sufficient privilege to perform this particular action. Okay, you don't have sufficient privilege to perform this particular action. So what does it mean, guys? It means that only the finance team members that are added to this particular project will be able to get into the project and they will be able to build the required components in the project, guys. If somebody from HCM team, like this particular user, if they try to get into the project, they would get to see that access issue. So this way, our projects would help you to do the tight access control and help you to give access of your project only to the required team members. So assume that this person is from my team and he is also a finance team member and he has to build fin related integrations. What would I do? I would go ahead and add him as a member of my project. And the moment I do that, this particular user will be able to get into my project and he would be able to contribute to the integration build. So this way, projects will give you tight access controls and you can create projects for different offerings or for different countries. And you can give access of projects to relevant teams. And we'll talk more about the projects when we do the first integration in OIC, guys. But this, whatever we covered today is more than enough for a day 2 session. And if you go back into the design screen, we see that there's an option to create an integration from here, and you do have an import. So assume that we are in a dev instance. And assume that you and your team has created, let's say, 100 integrations. You and your team has created, let's say, 100 integrations in total. And what are the phases that you would have in an implementation project, guys? In an Oracle Cloud implementation project, what are the typical phases you would see? You would have development, you have SIT, you have UAT, user acceptance test. This is system integration test, user acceptance, and then production. Now tell me one thing, guys, if your client is using EBS or any other application, do they have separate instances for each phase of the project, guys, or do they do everything in one instance? Do they have separate instances, guys? Usually, yes, right?
Yes.
And OIC is no different. So you would be doing, even for OIC, you would have dev, SIT, UAT, and production. You would have 4 different instances for them. You would be logging into dev OIC instance first. And this is exactly where you would be creating all those 100 integrations that are required for the project. And when it is time for migration, let's say your client says, Prasad, we're going to get started with SIT from tomorrow, Wednesday. And they come to you and say, Prasad, we need to deploy all the 100 integrations that you and your team has created in dev instance. We need to deploy to SIT instance. Now, how do we do that, guys? So assume that we are in a dev instance here. Okay, and I'll just duplicate the tab. We only have access to one OIC instance, guys. So I'm just duplicating a tab. So assume that we are in dev instance here and assume that it is UAT here. Now, how do you migrate the integrations from one instance to another instance? Assume that your team has created already 100 integrations. One obvious option that I have is I can go to one integration at a time, click on the menu option, and I can export it, and that would create an integration archive file. And this integration archive file contains the code of this entire integration. And not just the integration code, guys, whatever underlying components used within the integration, whatever connections, events, lookups, and libraries used in the integration would also be part of it. So we don't have to lose our sleep over the underlying components used in the integration. We export an integration and we go to a higher instance, and we can go ahead and click on import, and we say drag and drop, and we go ahead and pick up that IAR file and we can import it. So this way, we can export one integration at a time from dev instance. That would create an IAR file, and it contains the code of the integration and all the underlying components used within it. Go to a higher instance and you try to import that IAR file to complete the migration process. But if you have, say, 10 integrations, and I go to Navneet and say, Navneet, we should deploy integrations to a higher instance and we need to do it one at a time. And if I say we have 10 integrations, he would say, okay, Prasad, I'll do it. Right? Okay, Prasad, I'll do it. But if I have, say, 300 integrations, and if I ask Navneet to repeat this exercise 300 times, obviously he would say, what's going on? Right? Certainly, it's not feasible to migrate one integration, export one integration at a time, 300 times, and import it, right? And Oracle does know that very well. And that's precisely why they've given a concept called packages in the design screen. So which means whenever you create an integration in a dev instance, irrespective of the style that we choose, it doesn't matter, irrespective of the style that we choose, and we talk about the styles in a moment, you do have an option to put integration into a package. Okay, and you can put integration into a new package. You can enter a new package name, and when you create a first integration and put it into a new package, that package would be created on the fly, and this integration will go and sit in that package. And when I create a first integration, I can create a new package. And from the next integration onwards, I can put them into the existing packages. So if you are probably integration lead, you should be sending out a clear-cut communication to your team saying that, boss, if you are building integrations related to ERP, put it in ERP package. If you are building integrations related to HCM, put it in HCM package. If it's related to Sales Cloud, put it in Sales package. Meaning if it is an integration related to, say, invoice or journal, ERP related integration, you ask them to put it in ERP. And if it is something related to HCM, put it in HCM and so on. And once you send out that clear-cut communication to your team, and if your team follows your email, by the time we complete 100 integrations built in dev instance, you would see 3 packages. And when you go to the packages tab, you should be able to see the packages showing up here. And if I search for UG58, you see the 2 packages. Assume that this is HCM package and assume that this is ERP. And you can see what all integrations are part of that HCM package. You get to see it here. And what all integrations are part of ERP package, you can see them here. And if you want to see them, if you want to see what those integrations are, you click on the number, it will show you the integrations. Obviously, just because integration team lead has sent one odd email asking them to put these integrations into these packages, certainly not every developer is going to do what is expected. And there are a few folks who live in their own world. And there is a John who created ERP related integration. He has put it in HCM or a sales package, or he might have left the package blank, quite possible. So you need to check the integrations, and if they are not related to that specific package, please note that we do have an option to repackage them. You can go back to integration settings and you can repackage them. Ensure that you have right integrations in a right package before you migrate it. And when your client says, Prasad, we need to deploy integrations to a higher instance, I won't be doing one integration at a time unless it is a bug fix and I'm doing an incremental migration at a later point. Initial deployment of integrations to a higher instance is always done with the help of packages. You see 31 integrations here, right? Even if you have 300 integrations here, the behavior is, the approach that you have to follow is same. You just go to the actions, click on the menu option, and you try to export it. And when you try to export it, what do you get to see, guys? All these 30 integrations that are part of the package would be included in a package archive file. When you export an integration archive file is created, right? When you export a package archive file has been created. And in this particular file, you have the code of 31 integrations, and not just the code of 31 integrations, guys. You would also be able to see all the components used in those 31 integrations. The connections, events, lookups, and libraries, everything would be included here. I just have to go to the higher instance, click on the integrations, and click on packages. And I should go ahead and import that PAR file. So with just export and importing a single PAR file, you should be able to migrate hundreds of integrations in a couple of mouse clicks. Of course, after you deploy the integrations, there are a few post-processing steps that you have to do. You need to do some configuration steps. What those steps are and how exactly do you handle it? We're going to spend one full length session on this particular topic. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give you a preview of what we're going to do for the next 3 months. Okay, so don't think that Prasad is jumping around the topics or going at a fast pace. All I'm trying to do is give you a very, very high level overview of what we're going to do for the next 3 months. Okay, so how exactly you migrate the integrations, what steps that you would normally perform after you import the packages. We would be covering that in detail in the administration session. After we complete the integrations track, we do an administration session. And in that administration session, we would be covering 3 important admin related concepts, like how do you migrate integrations from one instance to another, how do you version them, and how do you clone them. And when we do that topic, we would be doing a hands-on, and we would be covering the post-processing steps that you have to follow. But this is exactly how our packages would help you to do the bulk deployment of integrations to higher instance. Now, when you have to build integrations in a dev instance, click on create. The first important step that you need to do is pick an integration style before you create one. And this is a very important step, guys. And nobody is going to come to you and say that, Prasad, you should follow scheduled integration for this or application style for this. It is you as an integration developer who has to make that decision. And how exactly do you decide that? So let's take few use cases to understand the importance of these styles. So for example, we did the Salesforce to ERP service yesterday. So this integration that we have created, we discussed the use case yesterday, right? This integration should be triggered from another application, which is a Salesforce. So since whenever you need to build an integration, which will be triggered by another application, and what could that other application be, guys? It can be Salesforce, it can be ERP Cloud, it can be a database, it can even be an approval process, or it can be a VBCS application, or it can be any application, guys, for that matter. Doesn't really matter. It can even be a custom .NET or Java application. So to keep it simple, if you have to build an integration like the use case that you are seeing here, and if that integration has to be triggered from another application with the help of an endpoint URL on demand whenever required, that's exactly when we make use of an application style integration. So meaning you build an integration picking up this particular style, and after you build it, you go ahead and activate the integration. And when you activate it, there will be a URL generated, and we throw that URL to the Salesforce team, and they're going to use it in their configurations. And as and when a customer is created in Salesforce, your integration is going to get triggered automatically. We receive the customer details we created in cloud. So to keep it simple, if you have to build an integration which will be triggered by client from another application, and what could that other application be? It can be any application. It can be Salesforce, it can be database, it can be SAP, it can be ERP Cloud. Doesn't matter. If it has to be, if it would be triggered on demand by your client from another application, we use application style in those cases, guys. So when you build integration using application style, and when you activate it, there's a URL generated, we share it with the team. What could be a few use cases, guys, related to application style? We've already seen one, right? Salesforce to ERP is a classic use case for application style. You build the integration, share it with Salesforce team. Or what could be other use cases, guys? Let's say we are doing an implementation project for a client like British Telecom. And let's assume that they have a billing systems where AR invoices get generated. And we need to build an integration to import those AR invoices in ERP Cloud. So BT says, Prasad, you build an integration which is capable of importing AR invoices in ERP Cloud. And they would ask you to build the integration, activate it, and share the URL with them. And they're going to call your integration from a billing system on demand. As and when there are a few invoices to import, they would be calling your integration and they pass in the payload, guys. So in this case, our integration is called from a billing system application. So this way, it doesn't matter. It could be any application that could be triggering your integration, and they would be passing in the required payload, and they would call it on demand whenever required, pass in the payload, and in the integration, we plug in the required logic. And since the integration is triggered by another application, it's called as an application style. Well, sometimes you might have to build an integration, and that integration should run based on a schedule. So what could be few use cases, guys? Let's assume that we are doing an implementation project, this time for a manufacturing client like Emerson, and assume that they have an internal warehouse management system. Let's call it application A. And we do have items in that application. And they do get updated there. And whatever item updates happen in a WMS system, or with those item updates, WMS is going to generate a CSV files. And those CSV files should be placed in SFTP server 1. And assume that this is an on-prem FTP server. It is within the client network. And those item CSV files that are placed by WMS system in the on-prem FTP server, they should be made available to a third-party shipping application like OTM. And if you go to client and if you ask them to expose their on-prem FTP server to the third parties like OTM here or application B, a client might say, Prasad, I have a lot of other sensitive files in this particular server. I cannot expose it to the third party. In such case, what do we do, guys? We go back to them and we ask them, boss, do you have access to any other FTP server? Then OTM might say that, Prasad, I have access to server 2 and I can share the details of this FTP server with you. So if you can transfer the files from server 1 to server 2, and if you can place those CSV files here, we can pick it up and process it. So you come across plenty of scenarios like this in real time, guys, wherein a source would be writing files to one location, whereas a target expects the files to be in a different location. So what do you do in such cases, guys? You would be building a file transfer service. And in that service, you're going to plug in logic to pick up the file from server 1, drop it in server 2. And we're going to build this service as a scheduled orchestration. So assume that WMS is going to place these item CSV files at 1 o'clock in the morning every day. We would build an integration. We schedule the service to run at 1:30 so that we pick up the files, transfer it, and a WMS system need not call your integration. They would just place the files and move on. And half an hour later, this scheduled service is going to pick up the files and transfer them. Now, what could be, and in this particular case, we're only talking about picking the files from one server, dropping it in another server. And I've taken 2 SFTP servers as an example, guys, but please note, guys, OIC has a capabilities to talk to any other file storage area. It can talk to the local file system of the applications. Okay, it can talk to local file systems. It can talk to Amazon S3 buckets and get the file from there. It can talk to object storage buckets in OCI. It can even talk to Google Drive or any other file storage area as well. So using FTP servers here as an example is just one thing that we can do, but it can be any other destination as well, guys. Source can be anything. It can be any of them, and destination can be any of them. And here we're talking about only transferring files from server 1 to server 2, right? So what could be other scenarios, guys? It could also be possible that client might want you to load files or process the files in Fusion Cloud. So let's say that we are doing an implementation project for HSBC this time. And they have a core banking system where journals get generated, journals file get generated. So let's say journals get created in core banking system all through the day. After close of business, they run a process at their end. And that process would extract all the journals, prepare a file, and they put that in FTP server at 3 o'clock in the morning. And if I tell the core banking system that I'll build an integration and give you the URL, after you place the file in FTP server at 3 o'clock, can you call my integration? Core banking system team might say, sorry, Prasad, ours is a 1990s or 2000 system. It doesn't have the capability to invoke a web service. So they say that, Prasad, we will just place the file in FTP server at 3 o'clock. You can run your integration at 3:30 based on a schedule, and you can pick up the file from it. So which means even though I build an integration as application style, I share the URL with them, they cannot call my integration. Instead, I would build the integration as scheduled orchestration, schedule it to run at 3:30. I'm going to pick up the file from FTP server. And on that file, I can plug in any logic that I want, or any logic that is required by HSBC rather. Like I can plug in a transformation logic, enrichment, validation, and so on. And after that, I can prepare a final FPDA file, final file in FPDA format, and I can do the bulk data upload into GL Cloud. So if you have to do a bulk data upload into finance or SCM modules, these are called as FSCM modules, guys, called as ERP Cloud as a bucket. And if you have to do a bulk data upload into ERP Cloud, you should be using FPDI. And the exact same use case, if you just think of any custom application and if you think of any HCM data file getting generated there, assume that a custom .NET or Java application is running at your client place where employees or departments get generated there. A file is placed in FTP server at 3 o'clock. We need to pick up the file, load it into HCM Cloud. I cannot use FPDI to load the data into HCM Cloud. It doesn't work. In a similar fashion, I cannot use HDL, HCM Data Loader, to load the data into a GL Cloud application. It doesn't work. So FPDI works only for FSCM. HCM only works for HCM Cloud, guys. Okay. And please don't worry or panic, guys, if you're hearing these words like FPDA or HCM Data Loader for the first time. When we do the actual integrations, we will see how these integrations work. We'll see how these processes work manually first. I'll show you how to load a file manually in Fusion Cloud using FPDA and HDL. And then we come back to OIC and build an integration there to automate it. Now, whatever use cases that I've been explaining for the last 10 minutes, guys, these are not some cooked up stories that I'm explaining for the past half an hour. These are the actual use cases that I've built and delivered for end clients in a real-time projects, guys. And in fact, these are the exact same use cases that we will be building in the training sessions as well. So when it comes to integrations, guys, we will be building 15 complex integrations in total. And we would be building one. And when you build, when it comes to building integrations in OIC, guys, you can categorize them into inbound and outbound integrations. Let's say any client is implementing Fusion Cloud. Okay, let's say any client is implementing Fusion Cloud application. There would be a requirement to use OIC as a platform to build plenty of integration use cases, VBCS applications approval process, and so on. But when it comes to integrations, there would be a requirement to build. There would be a requirement to build inbound integrations, and the inbound integrations that you build will come into picture here. So when your client implements Fusion Cloud, please note that apart from Fusion Cloud application, your client will have a lot of other systems in their IT landscape. They might have a core banking system where journals get created. They might have a procurement application where POs get generated, a billing system where invoices are created, or there might be a Bloomberg application or a vendor giving exchange rates file. So there would be a lot of downstream. I mean, there are a lot of other systems that the clients have in their IT landscape, and I should be loading in that data into Fusion Cloud, and we do it using inbound integrations here. Why are they called inbound? Because we are going to load the data from other applications into Fusion Cloud. It is inbound into it. And we will be building 4 inbound integrations as part of the course. And those are the ones that I'm highlighting here. So we would be, and again, when you build inbound integrations, guys, there are 2 possible approaches you could follow. You can build inbound integrations using file-based approach and web service-based approaches. And obviously, you don't do inky, pinky, ponky to decide which approach to follow in your integration. Certainly not. Instead, there are a list of questions that you have to ask the client, like what's the volume that you have to deal with, whether they're going to call you a service or not, in what format they're going to provide the data, and so on. And based on the responses you get, you decide which approach to follow. And we would be building 4 inbound integrations using 2 different approaches. The first 2 integrations we're going to create using web service-based approach. We're going to build it as complex SOAP and REST APIs. And we would be doing a finance and SCM examples. These are the 2 web service-based approach integrations that we're building. And we would also be doing automated file uploads using FPDI and HDL. Now, when I say complex, just by adding a word complex doesn't make it complex. I do understand that. And just to show you how exactly our integrations are going to look like. So if you go to, say, let me open up a couple of integrations so that you can understand what I'm talking about, or at least one is enough. So if you go to this integration, this is one of the, this is a journal import service that we're going to build. And this is exactly how that integration is going to look like. So if I just minimize or zoom out, so this is how exactly the integration flow is going to look like. So if you just want to learn the basics of OIC, and if you don't want to go in depth and understand the things what to a experience level, or rather, or if I have, let me put it this way. We're not going to just scratch the surface and say that, show you how to build a couple of basic integrations in OIC using different approaches, and we're not going to say course is done. We would be building 15 complex integrations as part of the course. And when I say complex, this is exactly what I mean by it. So when you build an integration, we're not going to have 1 or 2 nodes in it. It's going to be a full-fledged complex integration flows that you build. Okay. And we built 4 inbound integrations to cover possible scenarios, two automated file uploads, two web service-based approaches, SOAP and REST, and so on. And a similar story exists for outbound integrations as well. In any integration project you do, similar to how you build inbound integrations to load the data from other systems into cloud, you would also be responsible for building outbound integrations to extract the data from Fusion Cloud and send it to other systems. Now, just in case anybody is wondering, Prasad, why the hell should I do it? Inbound is okay, I understand that there are other systems where data is generated, I have to load it. Why should I send the data from Fusion Cloud to other systems, guys? One quick example, in fact, we'll talk about it for a few hours later on in the course. So for example, your client has implemented HCM modules in Fusion Cloud. And let's say that your client has implemented a global HR, absences, and other modules. And let's assume that they did not implement a payroll. And after your client goes live with Fusion Cloud, what exactly would a HR of Emerson do? They would go ahead and create new employees from here. They would update the existing employees. And whenever there is a new hire, whenever there's an employee termination, that information has to be passed on to the payroll vendor so that payroll is executed accurately. Assume that Emerson is using ADP to run a payroll. On a daily basis, we have to send a feed from Fusion Cloud to ADP to do that payroll processing. And Emerson might be using an insurance provider to enroll new employees and their families into a corporate insurance plan. So we should be sending out that feed to insurance provider as well. So you would also have plenty of use cases and on the finance and SCM side as well, wherein you have to extract the data from cloud and send it to other systems. So in the second half of the integrations course, we would be focusing on those outbound integrations. And we would be following a different, and again, when you build in outbound integrations, guys, depending on the cloud application and depending on the volume, there are 4 possible approaches that you could follow in it: business events, BIP, HCM extracts, and atom feeds. And we would be focusing on those outbound integrations in the second half of the course. So we do 4 inbound and 4 outbound, and these integrations form the core part of the course. And not just them, we would also be building plenty of integrations in between, like we show you how to integrate with a third-party systems like Salesforce. How do you integrate cloud with on-prem applications with connectivity agent? How do you do event-driven orchestrations? Because remember, when you look at OIC, apart from integration and schedule, there's also a third type of integration style also that's available, right? Apart from application and schedule, you do have event option as well. So we'll be exploring this in detail when we do the publisher subscriber integrations. And we do have few more use cases as well. So in total, we do 15 complex integrations. And yesterday, one of you were asking whether we cover fault handling and or a few other topics. We would be covering everything that you need to know in the integrations A to Z that you need to know to show off your experience as at least 3 years of experience in real time. So whatever is a kind of a knowledge or a level of confidence that a person would have, if they have probably worked for 3 years in OIC, and if they have done 3 or 4 integration projects, by the time you complete the course, if you attend all the sessions that I teach, and if you practice what I cover in those sessions, you would have the same level of confidence. And there are 2 ifs that I mentioned there. So if you just pay the fees and if you start bunking classes from next week, obviously the statements that I mentioned will not hold good anymore. And not just the integrations, guys, we would also be building 5 VBCS applications and 5 PCS applications as well. In fact, one of them is a complex end-to-end flow, linking all of them together. And when we do the VBCS applications, we will be building applications from HR. We'll build an application related to financials, and we'll build an SCM, another application related to SCM as well, so that the course is evenly balanced and it would help everybody. So let me show you the applications that we're going to build, guys. I'll just quickly sign out as Oracle Cloud user, and I'll sign in back as Prasad here. And once you log into OIC instance, how do you access Visual Builder Cloud Service, guys? You click on the menu option here. Click on the menu option and you go to Visual Builder. And from here, you would be able to access Visual Builder Cloud Service. And we would be building a complex applications in VBCS using a Redwood, guys, using a Redwood framework. So, so this is okay. Let me just duplicate this. Yes, we would be building a HR web application first, and this is application that we use to help you understand the basic building blocks of a VBCS. Let me just open the application and show it to you guys. Sorry, not this one. Just give me one moment. So this is a HR web application that we are going to build. Let me just open the other applications also so that I can explain it in one go. So we would be doing AR invoice application as well. And we would also be building order management application from SCM offering. So we would be creating a HR web app to start off with. And this is the first application that we're going to build in VBCS. And with the help of this application, we understand all the basic building blocks of VBCS, like what exactly Redwood framework is, what are the templates given by Oracle, how do we make use of a welcome page template. So what you're seeing on screen is called as a welcome page template. And see, the best part with these Redwood templates is you see here, as you adjust the size of the screen, these applications that you're building are responsive applications. Depending on the device on which you're viewing the applications, it gets adjusted really, really well. That's a benefit of using Redwood applications. See, I'm using a 27-inch monitor, and that's why you're seeing a lot of blank space on either side of the screen. But depending on the device that you're viewing the application on, this is exactly how it's going to look like. And yes, you do have an option. We would try to explore all the basic building blocks of VBCS in this application. We give them an option to search for the departments. And when they go to specific department, we do give them an option. And we'll be building an overview page, display the department information. We display the list of employees here. We would see how to add the CRUD functionality to the application in quite detail. And I would show you how to debug the VBCS applications and so on. And once you understand how a couple of Redwood templates work, how to add the CRUD functionality, all of the stuff, we will increase the complexity to a next level, and we will be building AR invoice, a complex AR invoice end-to-end solution. And remember, guys, this AR invoice solution that we're going to build as part of the course, it is a complex end-to-end solution that we're going to build. In fact, this is the exact same solution that I've created for one of the public council in UK, guys. And I would be showing the exact same use case as part of the course. So as part of this end-to-end solution, we would be building a complex application in VBCS. And this is exactly how it's going to look like. We would be building a complex web app in VBCS. We give a user an option to create an invoice. And we do give them an option. We display the list of invoices that he has created here. And we do give them a search option, and they can search for invoices by ID or status, and they can pick up an invoice and edit it. And we would also see how to add the row level functionality. And you click on an invoice, and it would show you an option to edit it. And you see a master detail pages like this. Like you see an invoice header lines, and you see how to add the CRUD functionality. And after you build all these pages, after you build all these complex pages, when a user is done with the invoice creation, and when he hits a submit button, we want to send this invoice for approval. And that is exactly where a process cloud service comes into picture. So we go to PCS. We would be building a complex multi-layer approval process in PCS to support this invoice application. And let me show you how that would look like. So if you search for UG 107 or 108, any application, guys, I'm just opening up the AR invoice application approval process so that you understand how the process would look like. So you can build a complex multi-layer approval flows like this in PCS. And you would be calling these processes from VBCS. When I hit the submit button, we would be kicking off this approval process. Invoice would go for approval. 3 layers, 2 mandatory approvals. A third is optional, and it's required only if amount is more than 1,000. And if all 3 approvers approve it, what do we do, guys? We are going to mark the invoice as approved in PCS, and we would be calling a REST API. So the flow would be like a user would access a VBCS application, enter the invoice details, hit the submit button. It goes through approvals in PCS, and after 3 layers of approval is obtained in PCS, we would be calling a REST API in the integrations track. And that REST API is going to push the invoice to ERP Cloud after it is approved. So where do you see that invoice, guys? So if you go to projects and if you search for UG107, there is a REST API that we're going to build here. And that REST API would take care of, this is a REST API we're going to build. And this REST API will send the data from Fusion Cloud, will send the data from VBCS, whatever details that you have entered here on a VBCS invoice. With those details, invoice would be created in ERP Cloud. You can go to any developer who has spent 3 to 5 years in OIC and ask them how many of them have the capability to build this complex end-to-end solution that we're going to do as part of the course. Less than 3 or 4 out of 10 might probably be able to do it, but definitely not at least the 70% of them. So we're not going to do just the basics, guys. We would be building complex end-to-end flows that will help you master all 3 cloud services, integrations, VBCS, and PCS. But not just that, by the time you complete the course, you would know how to make them talk to each other, build a complex web app, approval process, and from approval process, you call the integration, and from the integration, you send the data to cloud. So these are all the things that we're going to cover as part of the course. And one last thing is, before I open up a session for Q&A, we are done with the free demo sessions with today's session. And admin will be enabling passcode on the meeting right after today's session. And from tomorrow, when you start attending us, when you try to join a Zoom link, yes, the Zoom link would remain the same. But when you try to hit that link at 6 p.m. tomorrow, it would prompt you to enter a passcode. I think around 30 of you, or 29, I believe, 29 have already made a fee payment and completed the enrollment process. This is for the other half who are yet to complete the enrollment process. I request you to please send a WhatsApp message on this number. We might or might not have your contact details. And if you don't have your contact details, there's no way we can reach you unless you ping us on WhatsApp on this number and ask for the enrollment process. Please do send us a message. Ask the team to share the enrollment process. They would share the details with you. Please go ahead and make a fee payment and complete the enrollment process. Evening itself, if possible, or a max by 1 p.m. tomorrow, because admin team would need at least 2 to 3 hours to complete the onboarding process and share a passcode with you. And the last thing that you want is you make a payment at 4 p.m. tomorrow, and you don't get a passcode because admin is yet to complete the onboarding process, and you miss a live session tomorrow. So with the other half who have already made a fee payment, sit back and relax. And you just go into OIC instance, try to explore the screens that we went into in today's session. And tomorrow by 11 a.m., you would get an email. Check your inbox, check your spam folder. There will be an email from us which has a passcode in it. And when you join the meeting at 6 p.m. tomorrow, you have to type in that password and get into the meeting. So if you don't see a passcode in the inbox, before you ping us, go to your spam folder and check there once. If you have made a fee payment, there's no way admin would skip your name. You would definitely have an email. And if you have not made a fee payment, and if you ping us at 6 p.m. tomorrow saying that, Prasad, I'll check 1 more session, 2 more sessions, 3 more sessions, then make a fee payment, I'm sorry, we won't be able to share a passcode. It would be really difficult for us to handle such requests. So please do understand. We have done almost 2 or 2.5 hours of training sessions to show you how exactly the sessions are going to look like, and they should be good enough for you to make a decision. And with regards to the content that we cover, I already explained the use cases, 15 complex integrations, 5 VBCS, 5 PCS applications. And I did speak about the session recordings, instance access, everything has been explained in yesterday's session. So if you missed yesterday's session and if today is a first session, do ping us on WhatsApp on this number. Ask the team to share the details, share the day one session. They would go ahead and give you the required inputs. Okay. And yes, we'll follow the same protocol that we did yesterday. Any questions, please raise your hand. I'll call out your name, ask the question, and once your question is answered, you can go back on mute and lower your hand. Akshay?
I'm audible?
Yes, very well. Please go
on. Actually, I want to understand, like you said, if we can import and export that integrations,
correct.
right?
Correct.
So, controlling available in case someone is the same integration.
Okay, let's get into the granular details when we do the integration actual topics. I said that we're going to spend one full length session on the migration, right? Apart from the question that you just asked, we would be doing a detailed hands-on, and we will export the integrations and import it. And in that session, I'll clarify the questions. Okay. So, but on a very high level, if you're clear on the concepts, like how exactly it works on a very high level, it's much more than enough for today, because we're just starting off with a course. And for each and every 10 minutes bit that I covered today, we would be doing a full length session later on, getting into granular details.
Okay.
Navneet?
Yeah, hey Prashad. So, one quick question. So, are we going to get the recordings for all the sessions?
We record every live session and give you lifetime access to them. So, just in case you miss any session in the morning, nothing to worry. You have a recording to go through, and you would have lifetime access to them.
Okay. And one more thing. So, might be it's too quick to ask this question. So, you said the application type of integrations for the AR invoicing. So, can it be a scheduled one also?
Like let's get into a granular details later on. So it cannot be a scheduled up integration, obviously, because after the invoice is approved, I need to call it from the approval process. Obviously, after the invoice is approved,
I'm not asking in this perspective. Like we have created a simple.
Yeah, it can be integration can be scheduled or application. But when would it be scheduled? When would it be application style? For me to help you understand that, I need to spend half an hour. I need to explain what sort of questions that you need to ask the client. And based on the responses that you get, when do you use a scheduled orchestration? When do you use file-based integrations? We'll cover that in detail before we do the journal import service. Just hang on until that point. And once we do that integration design consideration session, right, it'll be crystal clear for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sujata, thank you.
I was asked about the VBCS. You said we are going to create applications. Is there any programming language we are expected to learn, or it could be used at all?
You don't need to know any programming language as such. Okay, I think I didn't show you the order management application. So this is a third application that we're going to build, and this is exactly how that application would look like. A complex pages that we're going to build. And I'll come to your question, Sujata, in a moment, and I'll just give you a preview of this. So when we build these screens, right, on the VBCS application, you see when I click on view order, it's going to show the order details page. If I search for any specific order here, like this, I can go ahead and click on view order. And what do you get to see? You would see order details page opening up. And after we complete the AR invoice end-to-end solution, guys, this is like the final application that we're going to build. Sorry, the most complex application that we're going to build in VBCS. We'll take it to a highest possible level. And we will be building complex screens like this. And we will be building those drawer pop-ups as well, and so on. And going back to Sujata's question that, Prasad, are we expected to know any programming language to build a complex screens like what you're seeing on the monitor here? The way you build the applications is by using a drag and drop functionality. So you see here these pages. You would see the pages here and you see the component palette. You're going to just drag and drop the components, and you would be using a design mode to build the components. But please note that as you drag and drop the components and as you design your pages, if you go to code, the VBCS will be generating HTML code in the background, which you don't need to know. But when you're building action chains, say for example, I have, say I go into live mode, I go to orders page. And when user picks up any specific order, and when he tries to do any specific action like view order, when they click on these buttons, what exactly should happen in the background? We would be capturing that in something called as an action chains. And when you build those action chains, you see a JavaScript syntax is being used here. Again, a lot of the code gets generated automatically. We don't need to write any code as such. And even when we do the action chains, you will be dragging and dropping the actions and you will just configure them. VBCS will be doing all the heavy lifting for you, writing that code in HTML or in the JavaScript here. Just in case you need any, maybe a JavaScript snippet to do some validation or something like it. And if you don't know the code, you can just spend 2 minutes in Google, get a JavaScript code to format an amount or to do some validation and plug in that particular code here. Well, do I need to open up a JavaScript book and start reading it before I build my first application in VBCS? Absolutely not required, not even HTML. Most of the development that happens would happen in a declarative way, drag and drop components, configuration-based approach. VBCS would be generating the required code in the background. But just in case you build really, really complex applications, and if you take it to the highest depth possible, in such cases, if you need some snippets, code snippets, you can directly Google it out and plug it in there. Hope that answers your question.
Yeah, along with this, I wanted to ask, like, is there any other language that could be used at all beyond JavaScript if needed?
In OIC, that is exactly, sorry, in VBCS, that is exactly what we use. And there's a concept called ORDS APIs, wherein you can write a PL SQL procedures and you can call it from the VBCS applications. But there would be PL SQL developers working in a project to help you with that code development.
Oh,
Okay.
that explains. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. SV?
Hey, Prasad.
Hi.
The thing is, see, we have building this VBCS, which we can consider as a PaaS, correct?
It's UI framework,
So,
web applications that you are building, basically.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, VBCS screen, and then you have ERP Cloud, right? So we have seen cases where from VBCS, clients are using Fusion middleware. So I'm trying to understand why would they do it when we have this OIC integration.
Well, when we do the first VBCS application in the intro session, I'll spend 30 minutes explaining what exactly you do in VBCS and what exactly clients use it for. I cannot explain it in 2 minutes now, but be rest assured that I'll give enough use cases that you appreciate it. Okay?
Okay.
Banu?
Thank you.
Hey, I was asking this for the payment. I can see the name is coming as Mohan Chintamani.
Yeah, that's correct. You can go ahead and proceed with it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Saujanya?
Prasad, actually, the packaging which you have mentioned, before the 3, because I see like you are packaging integration. Now from Gen 3, it is like you have mentioned projects is the feature which Oracle has developed.
In the projects also, you have a similar export import option, and we'll talk about it in detail in the migration session. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sharavati?
Yeah, Prasad, actually wanted to know what are these application names are new for me, like VBCS, HR web applications, and Redwood application.
Please call me tomorrow around 11 a.m. on this number. I'll give you a crisp explanation so that you understand them well. Call me on this number tomorrow 11 a.m. on WhatsApp.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Ravi.
Yeah, hey Prasad. I just wanted to understand regarding the access to the instance, right?
Mhm.
So is it like because we're gonna have a 3 months course,
Correct.
so and post the course, like what would be the duration we'll have access to the instance to practice?
Instance access will be for 3 months from a batch start date. Out of the fees that you pay us, so we pay 6,000 to the vendor for 3 months of your instance access on your behalf. And if you want to extend it beyond that, it would cost you 4,000 for every 2 months, and you pay to a vendor, and we would coordinate it and get the access for you.
Okay, so the initial access is for 3 months, right?
3 months from a batch start date. That's correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Preeti?
Prasad, when will the recordings be available? I mean, now this
By
actually
9:30, when in 2.5 hours from now, I would be uploading a session recordings to Google Drive. Google Drive would take roughly 15 to 30 minutes. So sometimes it takes up to 1 hour to convert it. So recommendation is to wait until 10 or 10:30 p.m. And tomorrow morning, you can watch the recording and let me know if you have any questions in next day session. If you're based out of US, yes, 10:30, 11 Indian evening time, it would be available.
Okay.
Okay. Navya?
Yeah, hi Prasad.
Hi.
In the designer or in the project panel, like there was a versioning, right? So
Correct.
I have a doubt, like do we use even in OIC like versioning tools like Git and the deployment process CI/CD and all?
We don't see there is a concept called versioning in OIC. Like you can create different version types for every integration to manage the changes that you're making in it.
Okay.
And when you create a new versions of it, so all the source code would be stored in the background and obviously in a source control system that we don't get access to. But if required, what we normally do in projects is we would be using at least one source system. One version control system. It could be SVN or it could be Git or it could be any other repository. And what we do is periodically we take the backups of the code. We back up the code like we take the PAR or IAR file or even the VBCS applications, we export it and store it there. In case of VBCS, since it's a web application build that you are doing, or even in the integrations also, when you deploy the code to the higher instance, there is a provision to set up a CI/CD pipeline. And when we do the migrations, I'll talk about it. But even though it is a possibility, very, very few clients do it because this is not like doing a development and you have to deploy the code every single day to a production instance. It's not like a web application development that you're doing. Integrations is like you build them once, you deploy it, and probably once in 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, when there is a new bug fix that you have done, you would be probably deploying only that integration.
Okay.
I'll explain it in detail when we do the migration session.
Yeah, I'm an OSB developer, so I'm just trying to correlate with the things like how it is happening here.
Got it. Yeah. Prashant?
Thank you. Just a question related to VBCs. So whatever the custom web page we develop, right? So it can be used in Fusion as well. So do we cover that part as well?
Yes. When we do the first VBCS application, I'll show you how to plug that in as a navigation item in Fusion Cloud with the help of a sandbox.
Okay. And on that, like we have Apex as well, right? So similar to that, like we can build custom.
There are hundreds of things that you can do only in VBCS, not Apex. Apex is a basic UI build framework. You can build screens to a certain level of complexity in Apex. And typically clients use Apex in case they don't have OIC license usually. And whenever they have an OIC license and if they have an enterprise version, they would be using VBCS to build the applications, because you can build much more complex applications than what is possible in Apex in VBCS. And it also gives you much more granular level of control, like in terms of writing the JavaScript action chains, calling the approval process from it, and orchestrating that entire flow, right? It is much more easier in VBCS action chains rather than Apex. Okay. Nageshwara?
Yeah, hi, Prasad. Just would like to know that part of, pertaining to this interview, right, and OIC point of view. So what actually organizations expect that? So as you said that actually other sources we might not need required to understand part of the integration, but at least the Oracle Fusion has its own actually product. So whether they expect any knowledge on
See,
Fusion.
whatever when we do the integrations, right? For every use case that we are going to do, we would be using in most of the use cases we use Fusion Cloud, either as a source or as a target. And when we do the integration use cases in Fusion Cloud, we will be covering a few technical skills as part of the course itself, like FPDA, HDL, BI reports, and so on. So whatever knowledge that you get as part of the course related to Fusion Cloud and whatever we cover as part of the course, it would be enough. And if you probably have more than 10 years of experience, since you already have access to Fusion Cloud application, you can extrapolate those skills, those use cases, and you can try out few additional use cases as well. And there are a few more tech skills that clients might expect you to know in case you have more than 10 years experience. We can talk about it in detail in a separate call.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
And I'm not sure who has logged in as Lenovo and raised your hand. Please call me on this number tomorrow after 11, please. And I'll be answering your call and taking your questions there. And as I mentioned earlier, guys, tomorrow 6 p.m. you hit a link. It would be prompting you to enter a password. Please do complete the enrollment process ASAP. Otherwise, you would miss a live session tomorrow. Thank you, guys.